Mike Johns, Check This Out News. You know how we do it. We connect the streets, giving it to you live each and every week. With us today, we have all the way from Moscow, Russia, Alex, make sure I get the last name correct.
Yeah.
Turchin.
Turchin.
Yeah. One of the first transhumanists that we're going to have as guests today on our show, who's wrote the recent white paper, The Classification of Approaches to Technological Resurrection.
Yeah.
That's a lot of big words, but he's here with us today. He's going to break that down. First of all, I want to thank you for being a guest with us today on our Future of Work series.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. I'd like to start just for our guests. What is a transhumanist?
Basically, the transhumanism is the idea that humans tend to additional evolution, and we will evolve in post-humans. So we are transitory humans, which will continue our evolution. But to continue our evolution using technological means in the future, we need to survive. So most transhumanists are immediately became immortalists. So they need life extension to get to wonderful future. And that is why they fight aging. They sign for Cryonics and they do digital mortality things, because this is most useful things to reach this wonderful future person there.
Nice. Now,
yes,
Hollywood made the movie Transcendence that starred the U.S. actor Johnny Depp. I don't know if you saw that movie, Transcendence.
So basically, it will be Transcendence, but actually, I did not like the movie. No, I like the technological ideas behind it.
Too Hollywood?
No, I think they have some problem with presenting because the plot is accelerating in the middle and then it stops in the middle because this guy starts uploading himself. It's an interesting part, and then he starts rewriting himself and he becomes super intelligent. And after it, we see they going to fight him with just a small gun. It's absurd. Right. Yes, and that moment I think, what happened here? Yes.
Well, let's start with uploading. I mean, that's just so futuristic. The uploading of the mind. I mean, you're well versed in this, in your background, in your studies. This notion of uploading the mind, is that really feasible in the next 10 years?
So basically, I don't think it's feasible in 10 years because we still do not know a lot about the biology of neurons, but it will be feasible in 100 years. So we need to survive a little bit longer until now. That is why we need other instruments in life extension, so to preserve our brain until this. Because actually there are two ways to uploading. This one is direct uploading, like brain scanning, and another is direct uploading. That is, we can see in Transcendence movie, they collect data about the person and create his model based on his association. For example, they said chair, he said table, so you remember from the movie. So they create a map of concepts in his mind, and yes, so this is like indirect uploading without actual scanning brain or putting some implants in it. And this one is more feasible for currently living people because we could record data about ourselves. We're actually constantly recording. We're already recording our radio show, and we already recorded everything in social networks. So a lot of data is preserved about human and more, and it will be relatively easy to create a model of the human mind, and this model could be as close to original as we want. But it will help, so we can collect the data now, but we can create the mind only in the future, basically.
So, but now, one of the things that attracted me, and I want to capitalize on your white paper again, the classification approaches to technological resurrection.
Yeah.
you've outlined several technological resurrection ways that this will be possible in the near future, including digital immortality, resurrection based on recording.
Yeah, basically, the first thing which could help in resurrection is cryonics. I'm wearing like my cryo token, so if I die, my brain will be frozen. And you know that in Phoenix you have the largest facility of such type. This is Alcor, which they have like 200 people cryonically preserved there in Arizona.
In Phoenix, Arizona, they have a lab where people are, over 200 people are frozen. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is biggest in the world facility here in your place. It's a neighbor called first like Stamptons. I forget the whole name.
Yeah.
So it
and
is
they're
the best.
specializing in preserving the body for the next what? What are they doing here?
So we're just preserving them, and they're waiting for new technologies to appear which will able to scan mind or to resurrect the body or to do both of these things. Maybe it's for the nanotechnology or some kind of tomography to scan the mind. So, but for now they just perform some, so if a person died, they replace blood with cryoprotection. This is some liquid which prevent appearing of ice crystal in the cells, which could blow the cells, because ice is larger than water. So they add something into the brain, and then they froze it, and there is no ice. It is a process called vitrification, and so the water become like a glass, so it stopped moving, but it's still there. And then they put the whole body in the liquid nitrogen, and it could stay in this condition for millennia or forever. It's because all chemical processes will stop on these temperatures for a very long time. So they don't know, and they can't promise legally that they will be resurrected, but they hope that it will happen. And there are like several such organizations in the world, and another one is Cryonic Institute in Michigan, and one more in Moscow is called Cryros, and my mother is there. So, for example.
Wow.
Yes. So after she died,
that's incredible. So yeah, you've even listed a method. You know, this is really like out of a movie or something. A super intelligent AI using cosmic Dyson sphere.
Okay, let me consider this Dyson sphere, but any large computer, it could be like Jupiter Matryoshka brain or anything which could reconstruct the whole history of the Earth once again. So based on all data, not about just one person, but the data about the whole human history. And
yes, I see that happen. I mean, we could see that happening with outfits such as Google, Microsoft. That the storing, you're storing human history in the clouds, mega clouds already. That's happening.
Yeah, they're already doing it, but it is still small bit compared to what will happen next, because to get the exact copy of the person, they needed to run the whole history of the intelligent life on Earth, and maybe to do it many times, because there could be some unknown things, so they could run different variants. And so they needed a lot of computation to do it. And at the end, there is a movie of this James Bond, You Live on it Twice. So actually, maybe we're already living in such computer simulation, and the goal of the simulation is just to resurrect everybody who ever lived. So maybe we're here.
Resurrect everyone that has ever lived.
So this is final goal, yes. Not just a few people who signed for cryonics or who collected digital mortality data, because it is unfair that only
Would we want to resurrect everyone that has ever lived, who would control that? Who would have the ability to say, hey, let's bring back certain people in time? Is there a governing body to that?
We assume that in the future there will be some kind of benevolent, super intelligent AI, and will be able to solve complex ethical problems of this resurrection, because some people may have some different preference about future resurrection. Most of people have religious belief, and in that case, a resurrection could be framed according to the religious beliefs. So they will find themselves in the like Christian paradise or other type of afterlife according to the beliefs, and later they will get explanation how the things actually work. So it's just one more step. Some people may not want, so I don't know how is solved, because some people are needed for complete picture, but they may be replaced what is called non-playing characters, like in computer games. So in this, the whole world simulation, they will be simulated only partly, only during interaction with other people. So they will not have their own consciousness and will not be resurrected if they explicitly and consciously stated they do not want to be resurrected. But actually not much people have expressed this desire.
I want to get into that. I'm going to get heavy into that in a second, but before we drop a bomb on that one, what role has the pandemic played in the transhumanism movement? Has it further validated the need? As people
actually,
are dying?
most transhumanists are interested in global catastrophic risks, and we expected this to happen. So I wrote another article which very closely discussed future pandemics like a few years ago. And also I wrote about that there will be multiple pandemics running simultaneously, and we can see it actually happen now when we have multiple different strains of coronavirus in different countries. So many transhumanists I know start to prepare to like global famine, and even I bought 100 kilograms of food, no, my goodness, tens, okay, and I got a lot of protection gear and water and everything, so I can survive few months in my apartment if everything turns really bad. And actually we spent a lot of time in self-isolation, and I know other people even in California did the same. They bought like large bags of floor.
So you're a scientist, and I mean, I respect the craft, and we're going to talk, on some of these topics, but you're a scientist. This is what you've dedicated your life to do, but you saved up enough food to last a couple months, and then what?
Basically, so there is a question, so I should
what happens
dig
after a
in
couple of months?
or bug out. I actually have a country house, so I can move there, and I have water, and I can grow food there, like potatoes. So I had a plan that I will try to build a self-sustaining community there, but actually it will not work because we can survive as a collective, not a single person. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yes, and most people who tried to self-isolate for too long, they was not able. They have mental damage. They gain fat, and other people eventually came in these places to interact with them. So it's not so. And as a whole, we could create many new vaccines and made them much quicker. So a lot of transhumanists started to discuss coronavirus in January, long before it will become the mainstream. They already started to either self-isolate or discuss different preventing measures, and I participated in these discussions. So,
would you consider people like Bill Gates and his global population initiative, Elon Musk, would you consider these men also at the forefront of the transhumanist movement?
They don't. They never claim to be transhumanists, and transhumanists are never afraid about human population size, actually, because we believe that it can explore space, and so it is not part.
That's the final frontier of it all, right?
Yes. So we don't try to limit population. Actually, it's not growing now so quickly, so it's not a big problem, and we will live on Mars and else. But unfortunately, for example, Elon Musk never said that he's against death, or actually he said that he wants to die on Mars. So I don't like it. But if he said that he will be immortal on Mars, that will be much better.
Right. Let's get back to this classification of approaches to technological resurrection. And again, the white paper is available online. I'd love to hear from you. Can you dive in and tell me, one, what inspired you to write this? How did you come about this?
A long time ago, even then I was in school, a friend of mine had died, and I started thinking about these things, and I already have a lot of ideas about resurrection. So, and I decided that why we should agree with death. We should fight. Why not fight? Right? Not try to fight.
How is that received in a country such as Russia? Just the notion of that, just for all what Russia has gone through when it was communist.
Actually, some people thought that I'm crazy, even in school time.
Would that start with your parents?
Yeah, including my parents, unfortunately, which are not now alive. So, but also, there are still many people in Russia who have reading like old Russian philosopher called Nikolai Fedorov, who suggested the ideas of resurrection in the beginning of 20th century. So this idea is not prohibited in the culture. So it could be discussed. Fedorov meetings are happening so I have been visited them in 80s and 90s. So from my school time, and they continue now. So a lot of people think it is quite normal to desire immortality, but in the school time it was much more difficult because parents was ready to give me psychiatric treatment. I think they didn't, but I think one more step and they will do it.
Right. Now, we want to get more into the whole transhumanism, but what I also was intrigued with was the fact that you co-founded the Transhumanist Party of Russia, correct?
Yes.
Now, what is that like? How does that work? How does that exist within Putin's agenda?
So basically, there was a moment when the Medvedev was president for a short time, and there was a period of liberalization of parties, and they changed the law so everybody can create the party, but they now changed it again. So now it's become more difficult, and so I stop most of the political activity because I'm mostly afraid.
Right, you might getting that call from the KGB right now.
So yes, yes.
Everything is of one accord, right? I can't see something that's not in line with what the Russian government agenda, how long they will stand for that.
Yeah, that I know that actually some of my friends, they're not in jail, but the friends of friends could go in jail for going for anti-Putin meetings, and so it now become more dangerous.
Right. And what would your meetings be? I asked because I've had the pleasure of 2 years ago, we actually had him speak at CTI Volton here in the U.S. Who created, who's running for president. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Zoltan.
Zoltan Istvan, I know him
Yeah.
well, and I participated in his journey in Immortality bus when he traveled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
why, and we visited.
We hung out in Vegas in that.
Yeah, and I was with him in Phoenix. So then he did this Transhumanist party thing.
Right. So what is the Transhumanist Party? What is their agenda on a political front?
Basically, the main thing which we try to do is to create a law for life extension. So basically, I have a contact in a state parliament, and I wrote a draft of such law, and we know that because Putin become older, he could become interested in funding life extension research, and so I hope that because in Russian constitution it said that humans have a right to be alive. So
humans have the right to be alive.
Yes, that's a fundamental human right.
Humans have the right to be alive forever?
No, it's just said that they have right to be alive, but anything which prevents them from being alive, like aging, thus is illegal if we follow what is said in the constitution. So, and it follows that we need to fight for life extension. That means that we need more governmental funding for such types of research. And starting from I elaborated different ideas about like what kind of institutions need to get this kind of funding. But politically we can't do much as a party, but we still can work with different politicians to present ideas in form of drafts of laws or discuss some ideas and hope that they will penetrate the government. So this is how we can work now.
So I like the idea of transhumanism, the ability to live. And I'm almost thinking to live longer, so you call it life extension, and aging, diseases and things of those natures are actually illegal, not legal, but you would deem illegal. Would that be correct?
So to make illegal what? Aging. Yes.
Yeah,
they can.
You in the transhumanist belief, you would deem that illegal, right? That would be illegal.
Yeah, but no, we can't make aging itself illegal, but we can make the lack of research in fighting aging illegal. So because there is not enough money in the fundamental research of aging, and it is not good. And the government is not doing which is promised to do in its constitution.
And so with this philosophy, or philosophy basically, do you find that in your research that mankind wants to live longer?
Unfortunately, not everybody wants to live longer based on my question, but it changes. Many people prefer to live longer because the idea become more popular now. So younger people want to live longer, less religious people want to live longer. Unfortunately, some old people are either too religious or they too hopeless in their life, so they said it's enough for me. I don't want to live anymore because I'm too tired, too old. But it is understandable because they feel not very good.
Can you walk us through one of the classification of approaches that you speak on in your white paper?
So basically,
when you speak on digital immortality.
So basically, all of these approaches end up that the mind will be uploaded by super intelligent AI. But there are several ways how it could happen. It could happen either we survive until this, or we will be cryonically preserved, or another option is plastination, that is preserving the brain not in via freezing, but in a plastic, so it will be like a chemical fixation. And digital mortality, also there are several options. The simplest is to survive until brain scanning. The more advanced is to reconstruct just one person based on his digital footprint. And finally, the idea is to reconstruct everybody by running the whole simulation of the whole history. And there are some tweaks how we can do it more computationally effective, which are discussed in the paper. So, because a lot of information is lost and we need to replace it.
Now, I'm understanding, the need for more work has to be done to get this going. For students and those our listeners out there that would love to get involved, how does one get involved with transhumanism from a business standpoint? You spoke on, maybe some of the industries that are existing that kind of make this up. What would one do? ASU is a school that has transhumanism offered as a PhD program. There's a few other schools. I believe Stanford is another one that has it as a program. MIT. What happens after you have your degree? Walk us through how do you make a living?
Okay, one way is to continue scientific research in the field of transhumanist, and sure some students know it. Another option is to work on immortality projects, but currently the funding is low here. So because like cryonics and digital mortality is not very popular, so there's not much money, and they're like a vicious circle. But so there are a lot of work to promote these ideas and to attract more people in life extension. And also there are a lot of work around AI and robotics, and this field is now booming. Like 10 years ago, it wasn't booming, now it's booming. So I think that most of the students could find themselves in like AI ethics field or about applied robotic field, and also medical ethics.
Do you see in terms of what role transhumanism play in terms of the future of work? So as we get into this this relationship between human and robot.
Okay, so one way the robot will take all your work eventually, but the main thing that it will also provide enough income for everybody in the form of basic income, and so we like the form of taxation of robotic companies, which will provide us some kind of fund. So the work will be not for survival, but for realizing your own important goals. That is really work. And I said that I'm working for my wife. I'm not creating immediate income now. I'm working on projects which will pay off in many years. So I'm still working. I'm doing something. But
walk me through that. I mean, because that's really bad.
So, for example, I'm writing articles
about things that really won't take place for another 50 to 100 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm doing things which will pay off maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20 years. Like I'm working on my digital immortality data, or like copying, organizing it, or I'm working on a scientific articles, and I never know which one will be good or which one everybody will read. So, but so I'm working on something which is important to my final values, and I advise the students to do the same thing. So to care about, and because eventually you will be paid for it.
Right on. So when we talked about transhumanism shaping the future of work, I wanted to just hear a little bit more. Jobs that you speak on will be heavily within Cryonics,
Yeah. So
research in digital immortality.
Yes, and I think that helping people to collect data for digital immortality will be a large market, but for now, this market is not. There are more providers than customers. There's a problem. So I would advise people first become customers and then providers. So we need to increase the base of customers of different form of digital immortality.
What role does government play in this? Could we say people from the Kremlin to the White House, they're heavily involved in this? I mean, it seemed like if we're in a serious race with China on AI, then I can only imagine that this is just on the next level when we look at quantum immortality and things of that nature, right?
Yeah, I think that for now, governments are mostly ignorant about cryonics and digital immortality, but eventually they will be there and have good consequence and bad consequence. And good consequence that they could provide a legal environment where it could be done not in gray zone, but completely legally and in an organized and standard way. But also a lot of things was spoiled by government and in other cases, and they tried to control a field and they was too heavy for this field. So I need some kind of balance here between government money and government took too much control of the field.
Right, but ultimately, once you find that, I mean, I could just see this playbook. The biggest funding would probably come from the government sector. No?
Yeah, it could be especially for anti-aging research, because aging is obvious problem for many governments, especially even in China. There are a lot of aging population, and it could be attracted with large and more or less clear investment. But digital mortality is a longer shot. So, and the current government can't do. If Zoltan Ishtin will become a president of the United States, he will do a lot for cryonics and digital mortality, but currently they will work mostly, I hope, on aging. So
when we look at, and I appreciate that, when we look at life extension, from your optics, what role does CRISPR play in that?
I'm still not sure if it will be like a magic bullet. There is no magic bullets in fighting aging. So it will help for some diseases, but it can't stop aging for now.
Well, the notion, I mean, as we talk about transhumanism, the notion of just being able to say, you can, with this, you can create designer babies, right? That's the ultimate game. We can weed out diseases in advance, right? We can almost create a super race of people at the end of the day. That's kind of in theory what could be done with that. And I'm looking at that in terms of life extension itself.
So one way, yes, theoretically we could do it, but there is a problem. We don't know if it actually will work, and to know it we need human experiments, and it is unethical and illegal, first. And second, even if it was possible, it would take like 70 years to see how small changes in genomes will affect the life history of a person. So it's very long experiments. It's unfeasible currently, and so it's not very useful to do, and any ethical commission will be right to ban these experiments for now. And we need better understanding. Only if we have a complete understanding of human genomes, we could create some improvements, not just experimenting with, because if we just insert a couple of genes, and we may hope that it will clean some diseases, but this person may get some completely different diseases in the age of 20. We just don't know. So if we have a very sophisticated computers which could predict the outcome of any genetic manipulation, we could do it. For now, it is premature.
When we talk about resurrection of the dead, and this whole, I almost look at what you're in looking at your white paper.
Yeah.
The takeaway that I got was biblical. Be ye like God. Be ye like God.
Being like God. Basically, eventually, yes. So, but there's like two levels, of being like God. First, if we create an advanced superhuman AI, it will be already like a God, and because it will like millions times more clever, like of most humans. It will be able to create these Dyson spheres and resurrect people. So it will do almost everything we expect from God on ordinary life. But what it will be but humans will still humans here. So they will evolve, they will also become smarter with time, and I think they will eventually merge between the human mind and super intelligent eyes. So it's like soul could merge with a god in some Christian theories, and here the human minds after the resurrection will evolve and they will eventually become part of this super intelligent AI.
And you think, realistically, how far are we away from this? Even scratching that surface?
It all depends on the speed of advances in AI, and we will see in 10 years, maybe even how quickly it is developing. If AI will have some kind of break in its, because now it's very quickly, and it could happen in advanced AI could appear in like 10, 20 years from now. No, it will be not yet God, but it will be superhuman level thing. But if in 10, 20 years it will not happen, that means that there are some obstacles in creation of advanced AI. So I'm waiting to see how it will develop.
And so, as a transhumanist, and when I look at those works that are done and with CRISPR, that's the actual research work itself. As a transhumanist, you're not actually doing research, it's more creating the theory.
Basically, we discuss values and long-term consequence, because this is biologists who do actual work. So you could be both transhumanist and biologist, but it is like two different things. Like being transhumanist is like be very deep in future studies and have a very large picture of everything. So you know everything about any science, from space to biology, but maybe you're not so deep in just one science. Also, you're very deep in ethics and values.
Understood. I want to get back to the Dyson sphere. This was something that you and your colleague formulated, and this is kind of that super mega computer, correct?
So yeah, basically the idea, okay, we wrote about Dyson sphere in this magazine article, but the main idea was that we need an advanced, powerful computers and AIs to create the model of the whole history of the world. So, and how much energy we need for it depends of how energy effective will be our computers in the future. So maybe we don't need the Dyson sphere after all, if they will be super effective and they could be in my table. But if they will be less energy effective, we need a lot of energy to create many world histories.
Nice. I want to wrap up with a couple of questions and just kind of get your predictions going forward, since a big chunk of being a transhumanist is the ability to see the future. So, question number one for you, in respect to your research and everything, do you see that there will be a day that there would be perhaps one gender?
One gender, I don't know actually. I think that people could play like with as many genders as possible, because the genders will be less connected with actual reproduction, and reproduction become more technological. It already, because could be done most technology with surrogate mothers and donors, egg donors. So it is not very connected with sex. So sex, it will become more about fun.
That leads me to the next question. Sex itself, do you, what would the future of that look like from a transhumanist point of view?
Like sex as a process.
Is it a process, as you said? Is it fun? What would that be?
I think it will be like more like
But is it necessary in the
connections,
future?
like you have not using like bodies, but you merge of two minds, and the sex will be also full of no, it will be infinitely richer than anything we could imagine now, because it will be like ultimate drug, AI powered, but also involving very deep interaction between two or maybe more people, and not only people, maybe eyes or something. So it's like will be completely mind blowing.
Being that we're still just Earthlings, from Moscow to here in America to across the globe, is there still, from a transhumanist point of view, from your point of view, what will be the need for relationships? Will they exist? Will they serve a purpose in the future?
Actually, we still need relationships, because human is social and human values will exist, and I hope forever. And we need a relation to help each other to reach immortality and connection between people. It is just like first step, and all minds will converge in one super intelligent. Like it used to say that God is love, so the connection between many minds is just first step to like a world wide web of minds, and so first step to become to merge with future AI. So we need, but also in practical sense, we also need relation, because we need to care about each other before we survive to life extension and immortality.
Do you see AI having the ability to have a soul?
It's basically, if the existence of soul depends on the existence of God, and because like it's the soul is to God is like token to blockchain. So the token can't exist without blockchain, and the soul can't exist without God. So if the transcendental God exists, it could send a soul to AI, or if it not exists, there is no souls. So I can't say more, because it's out of scientific for now. So the better question, if the advanced AI will have subjective experience like qualia. The question is difficult, and it's also open interesting discussion, and some people suggest interesting possible experiments to learn if AI will have subjective experience. So I'm interested to see how it turns.
We're ultimately merged with robots, and I think this notion, the best way you see the future is to look at cartoons, and you can look at Hollywood films. Cyborgs.
Yeah,
you see that coming.
I hope so. I think I'm already ready to replace my aging body with a cyborg if it will work much better than current body. So there's no big difference for me, because I already spend more time with my computer and my iPhone with then it's my body. So I'm more living in internet than in the physical world. But so if the high quality cyberization, why not? Low quality.
Got you. Got you. So if people want to find out more about your work, where do they go to find you online?
So basically, there is a site, immortality-roadmap.com, where a lot of my work is presented. Or alternatively, they could just Google my name, Alexey Turchin, and articles, and you can find my articles on philosophical archive papers or on some other publication place. So just Google my name and you find my articles, and there are some other things which we didn't discuss here, but which are quite interesting. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I want to thank you so much for your time. I keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an awesome work. I really commend you for the work that you're doing, taking it. At the end of the day, you may not even see the fruits of your labor because you're so far ahead as a futurist. A lot of these things may not happen for the next, like I said, 50 to 100 years, but you're laying that foundation now. And so I really commend you for that, the research and everything.
Thank you very much. So thank you for this interview, and hope everything goes well for us.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Take care. This is Mike Johns, Check This Out News, and we're out.